Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady. There are 4 new great stories waiting for us today. And in this episode, you'll see first the story about a guy who can't tell the difference between a manager and a visitor. Then the story about Karen, who thinks she can take the job from anyone but gets instant karma in return. Then the story about Karen on the cruise ship. And the story about the guy who pretended to be the owner's son. So my money ain't good enough? Well, I mean, yes, but I really am not the manager here. I was at an Applebee's last year with almost my entire extended family and even some family friends. Needless to say, it was a cluster F. The occasion was a post-party meal being held after my little cousin's birthday. His birthday wasn't actually at the Applebee's itself. This came after his birthday at a zoo. A 20-plus person party walking around a zoo. Sounds fun, I know. Anyway, I was not actually in attendance for the party because I had an evening class at college during the party, and I didn't even make it to the meal after the party until everyone was already eating. I happened to be dressed pretty nicely. White slacks, white button-up with a black belt, maybe a little tacky, like a Cuban gangster outfit, but oh well. I was dressed up for the class, actually, because we happened to be presenting our projects for computational physics that day. The disparity in my manner of dress and my family members' manners of dress that day, having all been dressed to spend a day in the hot sun at the zoo, is really the important detail here. That and the disparity in the time that they sat down. When I arrived, I visited all 3 of the tables that my family had at the restaurant, said hello to everyone. Before finding my seat, I went to the bathroom to wash up. Enter an upset and seemingly tipsy 45-year-old man who I'll call Dom, because he looked like a shorter, fatter Dom DeLuise. Dom stops me on the way to the bathroom. "Sir, let Kaylee know that her tip is shrinking." I still have a false jovial glib from the presentation and my family interaction mumbo-jumbo. "I'm sorry, sir? Really shouldn't have let myself be so formal." That didn't help. "Kaylee, the waitress. She let me sit here looking at my empty cup for 20 minutes. What am I supposed to do, raise my damn hand?" "Kaylee? I'm sorry, I think there's a mistake." "I know they give them fake name tags anymore. The blonde one with the big boobs." It was kind of creepy. "Look, can you just fill my drink? I had a Diet Coke." I was kind of showing some confusion here. "Hey man, I'm not actually..." Now Dom must have assumed that I was the manager because he saw that I visited with a few tables and because of how I was dressed. "Look, I see you running around going to tables. I know y'all ain't busy. Can you just get me my drink? Ain't my money any good here?" "Mister, I don't work here. I'm just going to the bathroom." Dom was taken aback. "Oh, well, crap, buddy. My bad." Kind of a lackluster ending, but I do feel bad for Kaylee, or whatever her name was. I don't remember. Anyway, she waited on me too and actually had some pretty damn good service. I guess some people go to Applebee's and expect to be treated like hedonism bot. They expect to be treated like hedonism bot is a freaking brilliant line. And our second story. I don't work here, and revenge at the end. Okay, I finally got one, and I don't work here and a Karen story. Background. I own and operate a handyman business. I do remodels, flooring, painting, light plumbing, electrical, basically anything that has to do with a house. Well, my wife wanted new flooring for the whole downstairs, so we went to the home improvement store that rhymes with Slows. I shop there a lot, and everyone in the place knows me by name. I was showing my wife all the options and was talking her into vinyl plank flooring. I was showing her how it all goes together and telling her about it being 100% waterproof, scratch-proof at all. So after talking about 30 minutes, my wife picks out the style and color she likes, then goes off to look at some other things. As soon as my wife leaves and I start loading the plank, I hear the typical, "Excuse me." Thinking nothing of it, I keep loading. Next thing I know, I get a push from behind and again, "Excuse me. It's about time you finished with that woman. Now you must help me." I say, "Sorry, but I don't work here." Karen says, "Yes, you do. The other employees called you by name, and you showed that woman what she needed." I say, "Sorry, ma'am. That woman's my wife. Again, I don't work here." Karen's voice goes up to a screech and says, "Stop lying and help me now." I ignored her and went to load another box, and she grabbed my arm and screeched, "Help me now or I'll get you fired." I pulled my arm away and said, "Leave me alone, B." She yelled about how rude I was and said, "I'll have your job," and stormed off. I finished and went to find my wife. Shortly after that, I heard Karen's voice. "There he is! He assaulted me and was rude. What are you going to do about it?" I turned to see Karen and Bill, the manager. Bill asked me what happened, and I tell him. Bill looks at Karen and says, "Sorry, ma'am, he really doesn't work here." Karen went off yelling and screaming and threatening to call corporate, the normal Karen stuff. Poor Bill just had to listen. I left. Fast forward to 2 weeks later, I get a call for a flooring job. I arrive to look at the job and give a bid, knock on the door, and lo and behold, who answers? None other than the Karen from the store. The look on her face was priceless, and my first words to her set her off. I looked at her and said, "Sorry, I don't work here," and left. And our third story. I'm not a member of the crew. A few years ago, I went on a cruise with my family. A few important things to know about this cruise are that, 1, it doesn't leave U.S. ports and is flagged in the U.S., so it has to follow U.S. labor law. Also, it has a majority of U.S. citizens/permanent resident workers. A lot of the workers are Black Americans. This is very different from most cruise ships. 2, this cruise is more expensive than a similar cruise with the same amenities, ship size, etc. because of number 1. And 3, in part because of number 2, and also because we sailed during the school year, the demographic on this cruise is mostly white Americans in their 50s and 60s. I am a Black American female in her mid-30s at the time. I was at the bar, in a maxi dress, with a cruise card in hand. The ship's in port, so it's relatively empty. The bartender is also a Black female in her 30s. Due to her bartending skills and the proximity of the bar to my cabin, this is my go-to bar. The bartender recognizes me, and we exchange some friendly banter as I ask about various drinks. Up walks a white woman in her 50s or so who appears tipsy. She walks up very closely to my right shoulder, and then this happens. WL, "Are you having a good time on your day off?" Me. Confused side glances, then continue placing my order. I didn't really pick up yet that she thought I worked on the ship. I actually thought she was just drunk and asking about my vacation. "You girls have a good time. I don't have a problem waiting." She literally had just walked up, so this was a very weird statement to make. Me, finally recognizing that she thinks I work on the ship, slows down my order taking and asks more questions. WL, passive-aggressively, "Don't worry about me. I'll just wait till you girls finish chatting." WL continues to make passive-aggressive comments about waiting for us girls to finish chatting. At this point, WL's not drunk husband walks over and she turns to him and says, "I didn't know the crew could order at these bars. I guess it's because she's off." At this point, I turn fully to the lady with clear annoyance on my face to finally say something, but before I can, her husband says, "Enjoy your cruise," and drags her away as she protests that she wants another drink. I guess in his not drunken state, he could clearly make out that I was a passenger and not a crew member. The bartender and I are left alone again, so we chat a little about the incident. I guess I should thank WL, though, because I got taken care of by that bartender for the rest of the cruise. Here, you can only say, poor husband. And our next story. Who did you say your father was? Not quite an I do work here moment, but I don't know where else to put this. I might mess up some things, not because my native language is something else, I just suck at English. Me is me, SM is store manager, CW is coworker, RC is random customer. A few years ago, I was working for my aunt in the 2 convenience stores she owns in town. It was a temporary thing that stretched 2 years. Long story. And every day was the same. Punch in, work, punch out. My father was pretty well known around town for all the years he worked in automotives as a parts store manager, mechanic, parts manager, etc. One day, I was behind the counter waiting on customers, and someone came up to the counter, and as I was scanning their items, I noticed they had a fountain drink, so I went to ring it up, and I was interrupted. RC, I'm family. I get these for free. Which family like my aunts, nieces, and nephews, and my aunts and uncles get drinks for free from the fountain and slushy. Me, oh, okay. What's your relation to the owner? Mind you, I know my aunts and uncles and cousins very well, but not their kids. And consider that I'm about 19 or 20 at the time, I was one of the younger ones, so of course some cousins had kids, but the oldest wasn't even out of high school yet. He looks me dead in the eye and says, I'm Brett. my father's youngest son. I couldn't help but sit there for a couple of minutes with a look of disbelief that he just said he was me. So I decided to have some fun with it. I look over to the store manager, my cousin, me. Hey, SM, does this guy look like my father's name's youngest son? She took a moment to get a good look at him. SM, he's my father's name's youngest son. Me. I know, right? You know what that means. SM. You finally have a younger brother with the same name? The RC just sat for a moment with the most confused look on his face, mixed with a good amount of shock, and not seeming to realize that the name on my name tag in big, bold letters read Brett. I looked over to CW. Me. You hear that, CW? I have a younger brother with the same name as me. Isn't that great? CW. That's great, but he looks a bit old to be your younger sibling. The guy looks about late 30s. I look a little older than I am, but everyone usually says 1 or 2 years older than I actually am. RC. What are you talking about? None of us could believe this guy hadn't caught on, so I had to look him dead in the eye and tell him, nice to meet you. My name is Brett, and I pointed to my name tag. I'm my father's name's youngest son. He looked around at all of us. Clearly the RC finally understood, so I rang up the drink, he paid and left, with us still laughing. Bonus, his girlfriend came in a couple days later and claimed to be my oldest sister, not knowing who I was. Spoiler alert, it was not my sister. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.